Hello viewers and welcome to Combat Mission Fortress Italy. I'm your host PPGchu as always, and today we'll be taking a look at a fairly small sized scenario present inside the game. It's titled Small Patrol Action. This is the briefing screen for it, so you feel free to read this over. But anyhow, our objectives for today inside the game is that we command right around half of an infantry company, and that would be roughly, I would say, somewhere around 30 or so people, and our objectives today is to take out an enemy MG on top of a hill and its surrounding units. So this will be a nice demonstration of infantry maneuver and infantry just play in general. So now, as you guys may know, like I really like the combat mission series of games, though I feel like they have quite a large difficulty learning curve there. And with that said, I feel like one of the things that I can do to just sort of open up this game for others is to just sort of make these videos and check out the game like such. So anyhow, it looks like we've started out inside a very shaded part of the map. It looks like we've started out inside a farming orchard type of place. So the main threat for this map is just simply due to the fact that we've got these German troops armed with those MG34s and 42s on top of that hill, and they'll be very hard to dislodge. And with that said, this will be a demonstration in assaulting these heavily defended places with only a handful of infantry. And really, we'll have to make use of practically all of our troops here in order to win this battle. So I'm going to issue my guys some very general orders, and the general thought process is that we want to check this map for avenues of advance and places where we can set up these heavy suppression weapons so that they can pin down the enemy while our infantrymen move forwards. Namely, I first take a look at the map from an overhead perspective. Trees, forests, anything that provides cover is really good for infantry, whereas wide open areas wide open and hilly areas would be optimal for tanks. So I'm going to go with a fairly cluttered deployment right away, because we can only deploy on the sides of these two zones on this middle road here. So I'll go with that. And my primary purpose for now is that I see that I did a check of the map from ground level earlier, and it would seem as though if we move our MG resources back and such, we have a pretty good line of sight towards the MGs over there. So with my machine guys positioned for covering, I have these guys deployed inside their deployment zones, and our infantry rushing to the sides will begin the battle, and we'll effectively have 30 minutes to really just take this location. So our guys are moving out. I know that because I've played this scenario before, I know that they have one mortar up on top of that hill, and I do want to spread out my guys so to avoid these weapon systems. And there it goes. That spotter has spotted my guys, so he has, or that mortar team has spotted my guys, zoned them in, and are opening up. My MG's gonna put in a suppress. Oh, perfect. My MG managed to knock that thing out immediately, so that is rather nice. And let's watch that mortar hit again. That was awfully close to my command HQ, but luckily nobody was hurt, I want to say. And our Browning MG really saved the day there. And you'll see here that looks like we took out something over there. I know for a fact that we entered one of the people manning that gun, and our MG has just sort of pinned it down like such. And as the battle continues, we'll just identify more troops. Our guys may open up if they can see them, and the battle just sort of continues like that. So, what do we do now? How do we go from here? We made contact with the enemy. I mean, luckily we did snipe off that MG right away, but in this situation, I mean, we made contact with the enemy. So what do we do from here? How do we proceed with this battle? Well, what we want to do here is that we want to get overwhelming firepower on these guys, and firepower, the ability to just effectively shoot as many bullets as you can at the enemy, is just absolutely critical at these infantry engagements. So currently our MGs should be able to connect to practically anything over here, and if they can't, we'll move them forward, and we'll bound them forwards later on. So currently that mortar team's combat effectiveness has dropped abysmally due to the loss of their actual thing over there. The American mortars, I believe, we don't have any mortars, but the American mortars come with little carbine rifles that they can use, but I think the Germans just have pistols, so that squad is effectively out of combat. Anyhow, what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to get my infantrymen to just sort of probe along the edge of this orchard, and we're going to try to find avenues of advance forward to, say, good flanking positions, such as I'm thinking this tree line over here, where we can sort of bound our troops forward, where our main force pins from the walls here and here, or alternatively on this side where we have this side's a little bit more vulnerable, but we have these stone walls as opposed to trees, which are obviously much more stronger. So yeah, just, you know, for for disclosure reasons, I already kind of know where the enemy is present on the map, but of course with the combat mission engine they can have different layouts, so it adds a little bit of replayability for the different troops. So anyhow, in these infantry approaches of advance, you've got to say to yourself, I mean, your opponent isn't dumb. They'll know that you're probably going to use these sources of cover to advance. I mean, hey, who wouldn't, right? So we're going to have to be careful here, and I'm going to issue my guys over here a assault order, so they'll try to cover each other, you know, use Overwatch, so some guys will stay back here. They'll try to shoot whatever pops up, and another group is going to try to push up here. And likewise, all we're going to do is issue some similar orders for our guys on the sides here. I'm going to issue them a hunt order, so they'll move forwards. If they see anything or take fire, they'll automatically stop. And I'm going to get my infantrymen over here to just push forwards through these trees, and it's always helpful to go down to ground level, check out what we can see over here. It looks like we can't really see all too much inside this area. I thought this was a completely flat area, but evidently there's a small hill, so I'll get our guys to move forward using the assault command as well, and this will hopefully bound them forwards to those locations nice and safely. And we'll go like that. Looks like we found that MG on top of the hill, and this thing is set up directly in face of one of my MGs, so it'll be rather interesting to see them firing their MGs at each other and really duking it out like that. Now, I've issued this MG a target light order, so it'll shoot in the general vicinity over here with this MG for a light amount. What this will do is that it'll just sort of do some suppression, but the AI for the game is fairly smart, and if you order them to, say, shoot at, say, that target right there, once they spot an enemy, they will actually switch on their own agenda to shoot whatever thing that they deem the highest threat. It looks like our MG over here decided to shoot at the command HQ over there, so that's also pretty good. And it looks like we've identified a small group of troops over here. So, it looks like our advance is going pretty well. We're starting to build up a basis of fire, which is adding much more suppression onto those guys, and it's starting to do a little bit of damage here and there. So that's good. Now, one of the things that is critical inside this game is command and control. We have these infantry platoon HQs, and they're only usually made up of 1 or 2 people. Now, when I had first started playing the game, I would just completely ignore these guys. I mean, I would keep them with the troops that they are assigned to, and what I mean by that, if you notice that I click on this HQ, I can double click it to make to select everything inside its command, but if I just click on the HQ itself, it'll make these unit counters bright, and and those are the troops that they command, and the troops that aren't in that particular platoon HQ's command will be just sort of grayed out or blackened out like that. So the important thing about this is that your platoon HQs actually relay information back and forth, and of course they add a few bonuses like this +2 and +1 right here. The primary thing in my opinion though is not the morale bonus that they give, and that morale bonus will make it so that they don't retreat or break or get suppressed as easily, but the main thing is that our command HQs are actually able to share information with our troops. What I mean by that is, say, take Charlie over here. Well, Charlie's our command platoon HQ, so it'll actually hear and pretty much get all of the information. But let me see if I have a unit that's completely out of the loop, and actually, looks like I've already done a terrific job with this command and control, so we actually don't have any units outside of the command loop. These units are subjective. They only see from their perspective, however they can hear from their allies, as you might imagine in real life. So for example, if units are cut out, either alone by themselves with no friendly units around them, or outside of their command links, they might not be able to say relay information. Like this squad can probably see that team, and they can probably just say, you know, hey, there's a squad of enemies. Actually, these guys are, well, no, these guys are in command, so they can do that. However, if something isn't in command, they might not actually realize that there are any troopers over there, and if they get shot, say, in the back by those troops, then it might panic them. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to issue guys a small pause order. I feel as though this squad, I've issued them a target order inside that square, so it'll hopefully pin them down. And I'm going to get my entire platoon set up here, including the platoon leaders, because they are actually decently useful in combat, and I'm going to get them to move forwards. So yeah, things are going well here. Looks like we're starting to pin down the enemy tremendously, and we are starting to make quite some work out of the enemy troops. Let's get our guys to advance forward a little bit more, and I want to crawl my guys, or pretty much I just want to get them up until the very edges of these positions where they can suppress and do damage to the enemy forces, and we'll try to move up from there. Alright, so these guys, I know that they took one loss over here, and this game actually differentiates between casualties or casualties as in wounded men, and people who have just sort of been nicked by bullets, or have been actually killed by bullets. So if people are wounded, you can actually pick them back up, and they'll effectively be a wounded squad member. You'll see here that the attack AI is making weapon decision choices. Namely, it has, like, I think a few rifle grenades and a few, like, bazooka rounds and stuff, and it'll actually shoot them depending on where is appropriate. Oh. Looks like over here there was an ambushing squad armed with a MP40, which managed to buzz down a few of my guys over here. Oh, very interesting. And our guys are advancing pretty well here. Taking a few losses as they go along, but they are opening up on the enemy, and it sounds as if we are definitely firing more bullets than they are, which is really, really good. And we'll try to move forward in that respect, so we'll get our guys to pin down the enemy even more. I'm going to assign some different targets. I'll get this MG to actually fire directly at the enemy's MG. Over here, these guys are pinning them down. I'm going to issue them all targets. And the battle essentially just continues from here. Now, because of the, you can play this game in either real-time mode or the turn-based mode. Personally, I like the real-time mode better, just because I like the choice to make, to pick different types, or to pick different moves on the fly rather than just as is. But the good thing about the turn-based mode is that if you have some of the really long games, the ones that take more than an hour of time to play, obviously the turn-based mode is really helpful, as I can just sort of skip time, play it back, and do stuff like that. In addition, you can, of course, rewind the game so that you can take a look at the in-depth moves here and there. It looks like we're doing so far so well. We're pinning down their troops, and we're starting to definitely plop down a lot more ammunition with them. And perfect, it looks like a mortar relay arrived, so that is one of our reinforcements that we get, and we get 54 rounds of mortar ammunition to fire. So I'm actually going to save these for later when we make the assault up onto the enemy's position over here. But I see this area is becoming one of the danger areas of this particular map, and that's not exactly something that I like. So here's what I'll do. I'll try to move the squad forwards over here, and I'll give them an order to just, again, shoot in the general direction of the enemy, and that of course will have its own suppressive effects here and there. And likewise, I'll get this squad to help them out, and we will just sort of continue the battle from here. A lot of ammunition is just being dropped everywhere. I think I'll actually get this squad to make a few bounds here. So I'll give them another assault order, give them 15 seconds more of suppression, and we'll try to move forwards. Now, we might not be able to see it from here just yet, but the enemy is also taking quite a few casualties right now. Alright, so I mean, we can see a few of the casualties, but they are going to get nicked here and there too. Yeah, one of the things about this game is that when I had started playing it, one of the things is that I found the time constraints for the missions being really rather, well, constraining, mainly due to the fact that it takes a lot of fire to actually suppress these guys and to move them forwards. But actually, once you build up a successful amount of fire like such, that fire is cumulative, so it's not like the minute you lift it, the enemy will bail. And with that sort of said, right now we actually have a decent amount of maneuver. The main thing, though, is that I still want to go from the flanks, and these small individual riflemen or small individual flank guard sections are really the main problem over here. So our guys should be still laying into them. Here's what I'll do. These guys are doing a decent job, so I'll move them over to the side. And I'll give them an order to do that. And these guys are bounding forward, so that's good. What I can do here is that I can actually split my squads. So for second squad, I'm actually going to break it down into 3 different teams, like that. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I feel as though we should be able to charge that MG position right now. So I'll get one of my squads to do that, and second squad's gonna be 3 different units now. Some of the different factions inside the game, you won't actually be able to split them into different squads. Namely, like the Germans, you can usually do it with for 2 squads instead of 3. And the reason behind it is that the German squads were a lot smaller than the Allied ones, or the American and British ones. The Italians just can't do it because the Italian troops are just not that great. They didn't have a good HQ. And in the new game, Red Thunder, you can do it, but it's really heavily discouraged, mainly due to the fact that the Russians weren't exactly very highly motivated troops when they were away from commanders. And look at that, just an absolute barrage of fire. I can actually turn the game into the movie mode too, where you have like the band of brothers, super dark contrast type of thing. Let's see how they're doing. So yeah, these guys are practically fully suppressed. So my infantry team's gonna come up here. They're gonna check out that area for now. They might not be able to see anything immediately, so I'm going to issue them a few orders, and I'm going to get them to pause there for 20 seconds. And in the event that they still don't see anything, I'm going to just shift them by over here. And how you want to do here is that the game usually takes about 5 seconds to scan an area once, and then it'll just keep on doing that depending on how the infantrymen are facing. So we want them to just sort of stand there and scan that area. This area is just a death trap for our infantry guys. Here's what I'll do. I'll split this up into 2 teams. One team to pin down that area to the front here. I have to zoom down to the very bottom level to see exactly how they're fighting. But I want my guys to suppress that group, and I want the squad, or half squad with the Thompson, to wait for 30. And afterwards, they are going to make a run for their lives and just sprint over there to ambush those, or assault those guys like such. Damn, I had hoped that these guys wouldn't have taken the road here. They can hop over these fences and they'll do that. Oh, actually, there's a gap over here. No, but they should be able to hop over the fences. Don't really get why they weren't doing that earlier, though. Yeah, see? That guy hopped over a fence. We'll try to get that area done. So like I said, I mean, I can rewind the game, and now I can come over here, see what these guys can see. Looks like they can see one enemy troop, so they might open fire. Or no, looks like their pause timer run out, so they're gonna run to that second zone. But they'll fire along the way if they think that they have a good chance of taking down 1 or 2 guys. Let's see how this area went again. So it looks like we have 2 runners. And I think we got the first one who was running over here. Yeah, and the second one unfortunately bailed away. So it looks like we're definitely having much better luck on the right flank rather than on the left. But nonetheless, I mean, it looks like the actual hill area has been practically fully suppressed. Alright, so this is going quite well. Our guys are just giving these German forces an absolute pummeling. And I think it's time to get the main assault started in just a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my artillery, I'm going to issue them in linear order, so they're going to bombard these troops in this line area. And of course there are a few different other types of orders, but I'm going to give them to fire a light barrage, but I'm going to get them to fire it at a maximum amount of time, meaning that they're going to fire slowly, but they're going to hit this area repeatedly over and over and over again. And what that'll allow us to do is that that'll allow our infantrymen to move up as the barrage of artillery rolls in, making that really rather useful. So our infantrymen over here